Welcome back to episode 3 of the Genesis podcast. Today we are talking about, guess what, Yu-Gi-Oh! And we have here a new thing. We went to a 3v3 case tournament. Me, Danny, Tristan, and Landon, and we had some fun. First in-person event that I've been to since COVID. It was great. What about you guys?
Yeah, it was good. You know, Colorado's like the free land.
Yeah, that was interesting. Definitely a different place than Washington.
Definitely a different place in Washington. There was no laws. My goodness.
It's true.
No
the only
Yu-Gi-Oh
place I
laws?
saw, the only place I saw masks were in the airport, and there was like 3 of them.
Bro, outside of the airport, I think I saw like 3. And that's so weird from Washington because everyone has to wear one here, but there it was freaking none. It was crazy.
They also have the spiciest strawberries over there. It's
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I hear. I hear that they got the spiciest in the nation.
Right? Landon. I understand why you don't want to eat strawberries. Because if my strawberries were as spicy as that, yeah. That was so ridiculous.
So how did the event go, guys?
Yeah, how'd you guys do?
Okay, here, I'll go first, I guess. So are we going to start with the 1v1?
Sure.
just start with day one.
Or do we want to talk about the other Colorado tournament, too, that we also went to?
I think we should talk about that one first.
I guess
Okay.
we can. Just before this, a little bit of prefacing. There were 3 tournaments. One was one weekend, and then 2 on the next weekend. It was 2 1v1s, and then 1 3v3.
Yeah, there was also that Friday, the week before, we had like a big locals, and it was like 60 players.
There's a case tourney, too.
Yeah, and it was a case study for Synchro Storm. And funny story, our goal was me, Tristan, and Landon were gonna go into the tournament, try to go 2-0 and then drop, and then go get food with everybody. Round 2, Landon and Tristan both dropped. I continued to keep playing because we were waiting, and I 2-0'd my opponent in 5 minutes. Went to the next round, still waiting for everybody to be ready to go get food. 2-0'd my opponent in 5 minutes. Went to the next round, round 4. 2-0'd my opponent in 5 minutes. Went to round 5. 2-0'd my opponent in 5 minutes. Was supposed to play Crystal Blanc in the finals. Was going to give him the win so we can go get food early. Realized it was too late. And
It was
we
1 in the
actually
morning.
Playing, yeah, it was like 1 in the morning.
Jesus.
And I ended up playing Crystal Blanc. 2-0'd him in like 10 minutes. And then I ended up winning like half a case of Synchro Storm. We went to go get Taco Bell and went to sleep. But the Saturday tournament was pretty good. That was the Ghost Championship Series. I personally top 16, and it was a really good event. I also shoe in top 16. You guys want to talk about your experiences?
All right. So, yeah, so I started 2-0 at that little synchro tournament locals we were at, and then we were supposed to go get food, so like we dropped, right? So, yeah, like people ended up showing up later than what we expected, and blah blah blah. That all got thrown out. So, anyway, we get home late that night, right? And I was like, there is no way I'm gonna build my bird deck tonight because I'm so fucking tired. Like, I was so tired. It was absurd. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to play Evil Twin. Like, I played the deck out of laziness. And I'm going to let you know, I 100% regret it because I had the worst tournament experience of my life. So here, I sit down round 1. So all 3 of the guys I lost to made top cut.
Nice.
Two of them, I don't think are that good. But anyway, so I sit down, I play against my opponent. I would say the games are whatever, right? I end up doing like a Nibiru Evil Twin thing where you tribute the well, you tribute the field, and then you get to summon the two evil twins, and then you get to pop the token and draw a card, right? So I got to hit him with that, and that's what won me a match. He got to win a match because he go first. Game 3, I had only one interaction point, and I had to choose between popping a ravine or a boot sector, and I chose the ravine, and I was wrong. It should have been boot sector because boot sector led to my death. And so I deserve to lose that one. Round 2, I play against a bird deck, and I imperm Nibiru that guy game 3. So yeah, and then after that, I dropleted my card because he tried to extend a little bit more, but it didn't end on anything because of Valor, and then I just ended up going like droplet, and then normal evil twin, and I just got so far ahead. And then round 3, okay, this guy was so crazy. This guy didn't go to his battle phase multiple times, and I was just like, I guess, like, he just didn't attack, and I lost because game 3, bro, I drew until I had 28 cards in my deck. I drew every turn, and I just drew either droplet or a hand trap, and I was just like, I guess. And it's just so frustrating because you're playing like a 1-card engine deck, right? Like, I have 15 cards that just like get me going. So anyway, I lose to that guy, and I was like, okay, whatever. Round 4, I played against Cyframes round 4. That was a pleasant experience. 2-0'd that guy. I ghost ogred his field spell both times. Yeah, no one was ready for that. Round 5, I played against a Dragon Link. Round 6, I played I think it was it was another bird deck. And then round 7, this one knocked me out of the tournament. This was my 3rd loss. It was the Infernoble guy. So yeah, that knocked me out of my tournament. And then I learned how good the Evil Twin cards are and how it is definitely not the best deck, but it's definitely good enough to beat Landon. And so that is my assumption of that deck from that weekend. I will say that deck does not have a strong enough engine, and it doesn't really like end games, and it really relies on like perfect interaction. And I think that's why we don't see a lot of it now in the current meta. I see that maybe in the future we could, if like maybe like Nibiru wasn't as like popular-ish, like if it was like actually just dropped, because like that deck actually just can't play through that, and it has a really hard choke point. So because of those reasonings, it's really hard to play the deck, especially the choke points. If your opponent knows the choke point, which is the second link monster, then you lose. So yeah, so that's my opinion of that deck.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on the second choke point?
Yeah, so when they go on their second evil twin effect to bring back the monster from graveyard, if you Valor that or like imperm that, okay, they can't really extend through that, because they can they'd have to special 2 from their hand to make the link 4, or like their best follow up after that, if they're going second, is to just make a unicorn usually. So they don't get enough of the bodies after that because they use both reborn effects.
So if you were to open a singular hand trap against that deck, let's say imperm,
I don't. Correct? Yep, I save it. Yep, I let them summon all their useless cards, and then I hit that.
That's pretty smart.
Yep, because it always guarantees it, like, because usually if you hit the beginning, if they have the extender, then they just make the whole board and extend through it. But if you hit them at that point, then they can't.
Yeah, and a lot of the time that deck does just draw a lot of evil twin monsters.
Yep.
They just have to play a lot, so it would make sense that they would have a way to it between 3 Secret Password, 3 of the Tenki, and the extenders themselves. So
exactly.
Do you play CROSSOUT in that deck? And do you think it's correct?
I don't think I did specifically for that weekend. And I probably wouldn't in that deck. I thought before CROSSOUT was like, oh, well, you can do this, you can hit that, you can hit this. But, like, it just creates really awkward deck building, and, like, it's not always good is the issue. Like, it's not always live. It's not always doing something. It doesn't progress your game state. Like, I don't know. Like, I kind of like I'm like on Sword Soul right now, so like I like to just play a bunch of cards that like progress my game state instead of like stopping my opponent. Like, I could rather just like try to play through it.
One thing I don't like about playing CROSSOUT is that it is nice that it can like hit cards like Talents and Droplet, but with Droplet, obviously they can discard a spell, and that's awkward. But normally the decks that would play it lose to cards like Nibiru.
Mm-hmm.
And if you end up setting the CROSSOUT after your combo to play around like Droplets or Talents, and then they Nibiru you, then it feels bad. But if you keep the CROSSOUT in hand and then they Talents Droplet you, then it's it creates these 50-50s that feel so bad when you get them wrong. So
yeah, because some people hold the hand trap all the way to the end, and some people try to hit it as soon as possible. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, I get that. Yeah, that can be annoying. Oh, how about you, Landon?
So in the Team Ghost tourney, I went 7-1, and I had to play Danny like round 1, right?
Yeah, I got 2-0'd.
Yeah,
I love that. That was so. Landon just drew like all gas, and I drew like all bricks, and I was like, "Well, gotta get around now." Landon, you want to tell him about your experience playing against your teammate for the first time ever?
It was awful. It was horrible.
You feel bad for him?
Yeah, Landon sat
Yeah,
down and he looked devastated, bro. Like Landon was like, "Dude, I've never played against somebody I like play tested with like a lot at a big tournament like this." And I was like, well, get ready, bro, because this is going to be the first of many. Like, you're going to play against a lot of other teammates and a lot of people that you test with. And it's up to you if you can make it to the top, you know? You just got to prove that you can. And Landon did. Landon was a very good tiebreaker for me. I ended up going X2 at that event. I got 2-0'd by Landon, and then I lost to Hani in Game 3. I actually only went to Game 3 once that whole weekend.
this was the first tournament on...
Yeah, this was the Ghost Championship and the locals. Yeah, I only went to Game 3 once that whole weekend.
Yeah, I read about that.
Yeah. Just had the power of the bird deck.
That deck is very powerful.
Yeah.
What deck was Landon playing?
Turtle.
I was playing Sword Soul for both events. Then in top 16, I lost to the same guy that I beat in Swiss. And then the next weekend, for the
Oh, we're not on the next
week. Oh shit, we're not on the RMC charity.
You can
start us.
Landon can start with the next weekend. Go ahead.
Yeah.
That was the first weekend that it was Sword Soul was legal, so that was Hani's deck. That like was very prevalent with Mystic Minds and Evenly's in main deck. But later on, like the next RMC charity event, I feel like everyone was a lot more prepared for it. So that's why I switched to Handtraps personally. Nib, because I thought the bird deck would be very popular, and I played 5 or 6 of them in Swiss. Round 1, I lost that event, and then I went 7-0. It was pretty good. The only changes I would have made, probably cut down on the quick play spell, because it was just very like Vessel and that do the same exact thing. It was a -1 whenever someone ashed it. And yeah, so the bird deck was, I played 6 of them. I played Jib in that event too, and I just 2-0'd all the bird decks. And in top 16, I played a guy that was playing like OCG Sword Soul with like crossouts and Fusion Destiny and trap cards, so I lost. That was the only deck that I was just like, if I play against this deck, I just lose. And yeah, that was the only deck.
Why is that? Why
ended
did
up losing to.
Why did you feel like you just lost against that deck?
Just because like, losing the roll against that build is like, even if you do hand trap stun them, their extenders are judgments, warnings, and not warnings, judgments and strikes, and they have Fusion Destiny.
And they main deck crossout, so they have
and he made that crossout for my whole deck. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how he won, is because game 1, Landon got to play Emergence, like Landon finally got to play, and then he just goes cross out on your spell card. After Landon pushed through everything, and that was it, because the next turn he just like tie ate him.
Yeah, and then
So
year
does that-
3, the guy
is
he ended
CROSSOUT
up
good
bearing,
again or no?
CROSSOUT and Aya. I
Yeah,
don't
just-
think that makes
it
it
just-
good. Just
CROSSOUT's good in mirror matches, right?
Yeah.
Like,
CROSSOUT's good in mirror matches, and I think it's good for meta calls too.
Yeah.
Was he maining the cross out?
yeah, main deck
Yes.
CROSSOUT, main deck judgment.
Jesus.
That's interesting.
Wild.
And so he just was. You were the only other player playing Sorcerer.
No, there was 3 other guys that were playing Tenny Swordsoul, and it was Walter Jewell, the guy that got second, Mark Saint, and there was one other guy in top 8.
Mm-hmm.
Their difference was that
lost
they were
it?
main decking Protos. No, and the guy I lost to, yeah, that was just playing D hero build.
Yeah, weren't they playing was it three of each Tenyu and maining Protos?
3 of each Tenny, which was very interesting, in main deck Protos and over 40 cards.
And the
I
3
actually
vessel
like
as
the
well.
yeah, 3 vessel. I actually like the main deck Protos.
Oh yeah, for
Interesting.
sure. Like if you could scout, like in the later rounds, like you're just gonna know what you're sitting across from.
Well,
Oh,
it's also it's one of those things where like main deck and Protoss is what's going to win you the event, right? Because if you go into top cut, you already know what you're going to play against every single round.
Exactly.
It's like similar to what I did. Like I main deck Barrier Statue and Avion for that reason because I wanted to win the event, right? And I knew in top cut I was either going to play against Drytron or I was going to play against like Striker or even Sword Soul, right? And it's all knowing about like which one is you're going to be like your auto win condition, right? Like if I know I'm playing against Drytron, I just make Barrier Statue, they automatically lose.
Mhm.
If I know I'm playing against Striker, Barrier Statue doesn't do anything, so I'm just going to go into Avion.
yeah, it's kind of crazy because like after like the first round, you know what like because it's not like a huge tournament, right? It's not like a 2,000 person MyCS. This is like
Yeah, it was like
This is 300.
ARG.
250.
Think of
Yeah,
it
it's
like a
300
little regional ARG kind of thing, right? So like you know what everyone in the top tables when you're up there like or people around you who have the record that you have, you know what they're on.
Mhm.
Like there's just so many. You're like for me, I don't know for the 3v3 for our team, that was my sole mission after round 1 because we finished and I went hunting, bro. We knew Danny knew everyone he was playing against deck, bro. It was insane.
Yeah, that shit was crazy. Tristan would be like, "Hey, he's playing this," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I don't go for Barrier Statue, I go for Avion.
Yeah, and so that was the cool thing there because Danny's deck was made to take advantage of that because Danny played both of them. And so my job was to be like, Danny, your opponent is playing this deck. Make you know what board to make. Because if like he played against Sean Pittman, and I played Sean the day before, but he was on PK. But when I walked around the room later that day, he was on the Bird deck. So I just told Danny, hey, he's playing Bird. Make sure you do Avian. And that was it. And then from there on is like, that's just a huge advantage we had from just like that, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. I can't wait to go talk about our 3v3. Oh my god.
We can talk about that after we talk about the RMC.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
our testing was really good though. Like if you guys weren't on the bird deck and I didn't play that deck so religiously, like I would have probably lost in all the events playing against that deck because I played like 10 of them.
oh,
and lost to one.
The bird deck is really everyone's saying that the bird deck is best deck right now. That's what's literally going around.
Mm-hmm.
so resilient
Really
to hand
good,
trap.
but I don't think it's the best one.
And then
I-
you ended up top 16 in the event too, right?
Yep, top 16 in the RMC charity and top 16 in the Team Ghost.
Yeah.
Oh, so now do I get to tell the greatest tournament report of y'all's life?
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
well, talk about the RMC.
Yeah, that's the
you did
one.
that one?
That's
Yeah.
the one. All right, so I'm coming in, bird up, baby, caw. I sit down round 1. They were like, "Hey, you got free packs." I looked at my opponent, right, and I was like, "Hey, bro, you can just have these packs." And he was like, "Why are you just giving them to me?" And I was like, "Oh, bro, I don't need them. Like, you can just have the packs. It's cool." So I give my opponent the packs, bro, and I'm happy I did because his deck was Eldlick Frog. And so no, dude, it was great. His play was pay 800, right? He searched Eldlick the Golden Lord, and I was like, okay. And then he's like, pass. And I was like,
Oh my god.
pass? And he's like, yeah, I pass. And I was like, okay, and bro, and strapped up my KFC outfit, and I was like, "Caw, bird up, baby," killed him. And I was kind of shook, right? Because I was like, I'm kind of confused. So game 2 comes along, right? And he's like, Curse Eldlin again, pay 800, but this time he searches a Golden Land. I was like, okay. And then he sets a monster, and he's like, set 4, go. And I was like, okay. And I draw, and I was like, stand by main. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, lightning storm. And then he just extended his arm.
Oh my god.
So I was like, okay, cool. So wrap that up. Round 2, I played against what was it? I can't remember. Oh, it was like an invoke deck. He got scraped. Round 3, okay, so this one was hella fun. So round 3, I'm playing against a PK guy, right? And he just he combos me, and I'm just like, okay. So I bait out the Enforcer, because he couldn't get to the Scythe, he couldn't get to Dagna, so he just had Enforcer, Rusty, like 2 traps or whatever, blah, right? And so I bait out the Enforcer, and then I activate Mystic Mine. And then so, bro, we sit there the whole duel, and he's just drawing his deck, and I'm like, is this guy dumb? Like, I'm not gonna do anything, right? Like, he's not main deck, unless he main decks Order, which would be a great call, by the way. But it's game 1, and so, bro, he decks out, and he shows me the last card in his deck, and it's the Imperial Order. So he couldn't activate it to kill me because his last card was the Order. And so he shows me, and then game 2, I hit him with Gamma Nibiru into bird combo. So yeah, he packed him. And then round 4, I played what was it? I think it was round 4 was Walter. I played Walter, and he was playing Sword Soul. So Walter's the guy who won the event. And so I played I won. I full comboed him game 1, and he cracks the board, but and he protoses me for win monsters, but it didn't matter because I had Fractal and Kit in hand, so I was able, or Kit and Karaz, sorry. I had Kit and Karaz in hand, so it didn't matter. I was able to just play with the Tri-Brigade engine on the crackback, and so I was able to just beat him through that. And then game 2, he beat me. And then game 3, I comboed him, but he hand trapped me twice. And so I only end on Samorg, Apex, and I can't remember what was my other monster. I think it was just it was just Samorg and Apex. And so that's all I had. And then he's able to special summon his Synchro or the Ecclesia. And then I'm like, okay, well, I flipped the trap already on the Tenyi at the beginning of the turn. So he specials that, normals his monsters, Synchros in the Chi-Chow, and he tries to run the Apex over. And I'm just like, damage step, droplet, hit it. And then that kind of seals the match from there, because at the end phase, I get the effect from Samorg. So it wraps the game up, and I have Apex to negate still. So around the net renown 5, I play against the Plunder Patrol guy, right? And he makes me start. He makes me start, and I've just full combo him straight up, just full bird combo him, and he scoops, right? Like, he tried to play through it, but the thing is I knew all his cards. I knew all of his cards. I knew what all of them did. So there wasn't anything sneaky he was getting away with against me. So I knew what all his cards did. So game 2 we play, and he makes me start, and I was like, okay. So all I do is I try to combo. He does a combination of Dark Ruler, Lightning Storm, and then sets up a little board, right? And because he Dark Rulered, I can't die. And so I draw for turn, and I'm just thinking, and I'm just okay. He searched his deck a whole bunch, so I just slapped Mystic Mine down. I Mystic Mine him, and then as soon as I Mystic Mine him, he's like, oh, well, I'm just going to draw the Importer. And I was like, okay, well, you better have it. Because the thing is he went second. There's no way No way this guy put Imperial Order in going second.
Yeah.
No way. And at that very moment, I knew I won. So I just sat there for the 10 minutes and let him deck himself out. Round 6, I played against I think it was another PK. And then after that began my tour home. So round 7, I played against Tri Brigade Hero, which was Jinyu, and he waxed me. I'm not even gonna try to deny that he waxed me. Round 8, I play against PK and lose to Sean because the game was super simplified, and my deck bricked on me game 3. I had no way, but I feather stormed him turn 1. But like I just had no engine. I had no way to get going. So I literally just lost to Zeus. And then it was so frustrating. And then I lost to the Birdmere. I lost to Jib in the final round. And it was kind of cool though. Game 2, he hand traps me. I make a Utopic Draco. He goes Kuraz. I take his Kuraz. And then he goes Bird Call. He drolled me. I drolled him, right? And then he goes Bird Call. And I know what's going to happen here. He's going to dump one and then special the Wobbler. And so I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to cross that designator here. And then that wins me the game. Because I have his Kuraz to banish to kill him. So that was amazing. And then game 3, he just full combos me and I can't crack the board. So, yeah, I mean, that's how I went from 6-0 to 6-3. And then, you want me to start the 3v3?
So I haven't talked about mine.
Oh, you haven't talked about yours? All right, you go.
Yeah, so my tournament experience for the RMC was pretty good. Round 1, I played against Kamal. We played the Bird Up mirror match. It was kind of cool because like I posted online and everybody's watching our duel coming up to us. Like, damn, like the 2 like best bird players in the room played against each other. So that was pretty cool. We ended up drawing in time. The rest of that tournament ran pretty smoothly. I went to game 3 maybe 2 or 3 times. Not as much, not as little as the previous weekend, but event ran well. I finished X1-1. I lost to Zach Stone, who was playing Sorcel, and I played my deck with all gas, no brakes that event. Kind of like what Landon was saying, everybody was expecting like the going second version of Swordswell, and a lot of there was a lot of going second decks that event. So I main decked Order, main deck Feather, Duster Storm, didn't play any hand trap except for one DD Crow in the main and side. And it worked out really well. I think that strategy was really good for that tournament, but like going on from there, I don't think that's the right move to go on from there. Ended up playing top 16, played against Striker in top 16, then played against Andres Torres in top 8. Lost because due to me misplaying twice. Game 2, I set the wrong card, and for some reason I decided to set a bird call,
Okay.
and which was my follow up for the next turn. Tried to set it as a bluff, I guess, and ended up losing because of that.
In Danny's defense, these tournaments ran extremely late, and it's not the tournament organizer's fault. It's just like the way the tournament was set up is they wanted to run through 9 rounds of Swiss and top 16 all in one day and hold a 3v3 the next day. So
Yeah.
It was bad.
so
I was in top 8 until like past midnight.
And
like
that was just top 8.
yeah, top 8 was
They went to like 2.
Yeah, it was like 11:45. And when Danny, I either when you started or when you finished, I'm not sure, but all I know is we ate some shitty food again that night because of it, and that's the only reason.
Okay, that food wasn't that bad. That food was actually pretty good for being fast food.
Oh right, we went to that burger place.
Yeah, that's where Landon had
No,
the
that was
spicy
good.
strawberry.
Yeah,
That's where we had the spicy strawberry.
that wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all.
Strawberries are spicy, but ketchup is spicy. Not to me, but
What?
Not
No,
me.
shut the
Okay,
fuck
so
up.
I heard some people.
all right, So let's begin our 3v3 adventure.
Yeah.
It's nice and short. So there's only 6
Oh.
rounds.
Let me start with something real quick right before the event. So that night, we're super tired. I'm trying to figure out the list I'm going to play for the 3v3. Me and Tristan are talking about the list. We're both super tired. I think we ended up falling asleep at like 2 or 3 in the morning. And woke up super early the next day. The next day I woke up the earliest. I woke up at 5.
Okay, but you did not stay up.
I did stay up.
You did not.
I did.
Danny, you were snoring when I got up.
Yeah, you
That was the
snore
first
when you're
night.
awake.
Landon, tell this man. There's no way. I got up.
Bro. This
I
man
woke
fell
both of
asleep with
you
his
up.
deck in his hand, bro.
Yes.
That was the
He was
first
going
night.
He's
So
addicted
listen,
to the grind.
This is all I'm gonna say. When I woke up, Danny was snoring. I had to go upstairs and go get Landon out of his bedroom. I had to go back and I was like, Danny, you need to get up now. And Danny was like, huh? And then he's like, I will. And then he just goes back to sleep. So I'm just like, okay, like, I guess.
5 more minutes, Mom.
Was that not the? Am I thinking the Ghost Championship?
I think a Ghost.
Okay,
on Sunday, you woke up before me. But definitely
Okay.
not for the 3v3.
No, then that was the Ghost Championship series. I'm tripping. You're right.
Okay.
Regardless, I'm trying to make my deck. I have no idea what I'm gonna play because we were not. I want to say that me, Landon, and Tristan, I don't think we're as prepared as we could have been for this tournament. And we all agreed on that. Like there was so much we should have talked.
Deck
Like,
list was fucking jammed, bro.
my list was so trash. I felt so bad because like I was like, all right, guys, what do I play? They're like, I don't know, whatever you feel comfortable with. And I was like, well, should I just play my list from last time? They're like, no, because they're all gonna expect it this time. I'm like, all right, what am I gonna play? And then Tristan's like, play CROSSOUT in your deck, and I was like, all right, cool. And I will tell you guys right now, CROSSOUT was the worst card in my deck.
Let's go, baby. I'm with that.
My card fucking sucks dick.
I'm with that. Fuck Darren. Hey, what's up, Darren?
It was
I'm
not,
just playing.
it was
just
good.
playing, Darren.
No.
Wait,
For the
hold
week,
on.
no. Hold on. The tournament before, it was really good because I side decked it. Do not main deck that trash ass card. Like that
I
card
don't know,
sucks.
it won Tristan a game from what I heard. So
Tristan
I
didn't
remember-
top.
Yo.
I'm sorry.
Call him out.
Damn.
Damn, those are fine.
I'm telling you right now, that card is only good if you're gonna side deck it. Because it was insane for the mirror match. Because there was times where I was like, they're like, haha, Harpy's Feather Storm Duster, and you're like,
Darren.
cool, Chain Crossout, Banish Duster Storm. All right, you're later, bozo.
Darren, no. They really be saying anything nowadays. You know, they go top a little ARG and they just be saying anything nowadays. Fuck this shit, Darren. It's just you and me against the world.
It always is.
Always has been, baby. No
I don't
more
know.
bozos. No more bozos.
Okay, well, before you continue, let me explain why we decided on CROSSOUT. And like,
Yeah, let Darren explain it. Let Darren
Yeah,
explain
go
it
ahead,
because
go ahead.
I guarantee you whatever he says is the reasoning, and it just did not work out for us.
Okay, so the reasoning. So when I was playtesting, when they got back from the first RMC event or whatever it was, they got back and we all started talking, and they said, well, you know, we like everyone was playing going second. And then we were already like planning in our heads. We were like, okay, so if everyone is playing board breakers, chances are they're going to switch over to Handtraps. But then there's going to be the few who also play board breakers because they're going to net deck. So it was finding like a middle ground to it. Like what's the best thing that we can do in this situation, right? Because like very few cards in the card pool that we have available to us hit both board breakers and hit Handtraps, right? So like for example, one of the you can think of like Call by the Grave, that's hit something like Handtraps, but it doesn't hit board breakers. So we were like kind of theorying about it, and when I was building, because I also am on the Sword Soul deck right now, and I was thinking about it, and I'm like, So I looked at OCG lists, and I just did some like testing and just theorying, and then I told Tristan guys, I go, I think CROSSOUT's going to be really good, and they said, why? I said, because that card can actually hit both Handtraps and board breakers. It does a 2-for-1, right? So then that way, if you guys verse something, you guys have options for both. So I think in Tristan's case, I think the only thing that maybe we did wrong was the cards that we chose for Crossout. Although he did say like mine got him some games, but I think that was like what we ended up doing was one Mystic Mine, one Droplet, one Dark Ruler, because essentially they all serve the same purpose in theory from what we thought. Like they're all board breakers, right? And then if you have them, then you're able, if your opponent uses them on you, you can, hit them right back or the Crossout. If they hand trap, and I think you were still playing hand traps, weren't you, Tristan? Were you playing hand traps too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my thing is I played Droll, Imperm, Nibiru, Ash, and I didn't play Valor because Valor wasn't popular.
Yeah.
And that was correct. And that was correct. And I played Dark Ruler, Mystic Mine, and Droplet.
Exactly. So like the theory was smart behind it. I just don't think we had enough time in testing it. And like my thing is, the reason I was asking Landon about the Crossout guy from the OCG is like technically it's correct in my opinion. I don't actually think Crossout's that bad of a card. Everyone right now is hand trapping Imperm, Valor, Ash. Some have Nibiru. Like we're seeing more Nibiru come in because Tenny Sword Soul is like more prevalent in the meta, and then you have like everyone's calling the bird deck the best deck right now. So I personally don't think like I think those are like your general ones that you're seeing. Gamma has kind of dropped off the map. Like anything else is like primarily in the side. So I think like having Crossout in the main deck, I don't know what I think about it yet, but like I always say that I would rather have hand traps and slots like those with Crossout, but yeah, no, that was the theory behind it. I still think it's a good theory, and I think like people, if they don't have Crossout, they should pick them up because I think the card could be interesting moving forward. But it has a lot of, I don't know, it has application in terms of board breakers, hand traps, etc., which I think we're going to get into later anyway. So
yeah, and like most of that is like I agree with almost all of that, Darren. I just don't agree with all of that and like Bird Up, in my opinion. Because like especially now that we see like Liz playing like Small World and stuff, right? Like we have so many more extenders and so many more better ways to play around hand traps now. That like I'd rather just have an extender every single time over playing a card that would be like a board breaker, because I'm gonna have that out for that regardless, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, in a slower kind of deck, like maybe in like yeah, perhaps,
like even in Sorcerer, I think it's fine, right? Because like there's a lot of times where like an Imperm like can like stop your play if you really don't have that much, because you're like
and that's the thing.
You're already jamming a bunch of hand traps, so it makes sense in a deck like that.
Exactly. And in Bird Up deck, they already inherently play through things like if you look at like there's let's say 12 hand traps in a main deck, right? 50% of them being Imperm and Valor, right? 3/3, let's say. So the Bird Up deck already inherently plays through that with not Cobalt, whichever one doesn't allow the targeting to happen, the brown looking bird. Yeah, but yeah, so that one, so they inherently already play through those, and Valor isn't good in that anyways. And then to play around Nibiru, they just make like Utopic Future. So that's 9 out of 12 hand traps, right? And then Ash isn't very good on its own. It can hit the one of, it can hit the bird call, for example, but then if they still have it, they have it, right? So you do need to open up a lot of hand traps, and that's where that deck doesn't need Crossout, because it inherently has, kind of like how Dragon Link was, right? It inherently had ways of playing around or through hand traps that they don't need to play those. However, something like a Sword Soul, you don't have your inherent combo. If you start going, if you open up the long and then you have like stuff afterwards, great, that's amazing. You played through a majority of the hand traps, but it's a lot harder, right? Like it's not inherently, it is kind of built on the engine, but the bird deck is more viable at doing it, and they can play around more, I think.
There's so many flexible extenders.
Exactly. They have the extenders versus Sword Soul does not have the extenders. Absolutely, like what Sam said. So I think in that situation, like that's where I was when Landon was talking about the guy who played the Destiny Hero or the OCG kind of list version of it, I thought it was interesting. So, yeah.
Yeah, and again, it makes a lot more sense in OCG too because they have Maxi and stuff too.
True. Yeah.
But yeah,
XP is a hell of a card.
Imagine Maxi, but
but yeah, Tristan, you want to continue with the tournament?
Yeah, what round were we?
So this is like the very beginning. I was just talking about how like my list was probably not built correctly for the that event, in my opinion.
Okay, so yeah.
Because it was a really weird list. Like we didn't even do a deck profile or anything on it. I low key felt embarrassed about it. About my build, so I decided not to reveal anything.
And was this the 3v3? Just to bring that.
Yeah, this was the 3v3.
Bro, you can't be just saying that because that was just my deck. Like,
no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
Like, bro,
no, because the only thing
you're such an asshole,
bro. No, the only thing I took from your deck was the crossouts. I decided to play all the other stuff. I played like the one of cards, like the Nibiru.
I really hope that's what you mean, Danny, because I'm gonna fucking fight you, bro. Because I saw your list and I'm like, bro, we played the same ratio hand traps. Like,
no, we did not. You played two ofs. I played one ofs.
Mm-hmm.
My list was complete dog. I played like one of cards. Like I was playing like I played the Tri Brigade deck at locals like the previous month. Like it felt like I was building incorrectly. Yeah, like if I had played your list, it would have made more sense, right? Because it would have played two ofs. My deck would have been more consistent, and it actually would have made sense, right? My list playing like one ofs, it was like, oh, I drew the Nibiru, I'm fucked. Like I can't play around Nib now, so I gotta try to like change the way my list works, you know? Like,
yeah, it definitely has to be twos.
It wasn't built as correctly, right? It would have made sense. My list would have been gas if I played like two of hand traps and I played like better ratios, right? Because we played one dark ruler and one evenly. Like, what the fuck? Like that list was just like, yeah, exactly. Like, Willie, I'm telling you right now, my list. Like, I was embarrassed because I took the idea and I was like, sweet, I'm gonna play one ofs, and that was just.
Yeah, no. If you're doing the
not the way.
Crossout,
Do not play one of.
If you're doing the crossout, I think too. But like, okay, so crossout gets really good when all the decks become very linear. And right now in decks right now, everything is very linear. Everyone's playing Imperm. Everyone's playing Valor. Everyone's playing Ash. Everyone's playing Nib. Everyone's like, there's just like this standard generic like cards that are just being played in almost every deck, right? So like that's where that card gets like a lot better. And I think like that's how, rather than like how Danny said like he plays a one of, is that if you're gonna play a card like Crossout's good for formats where you don't have to change your deck because the decks are all the same, which is kind of like the format that we're in right now. I feel anyways, is that we all have generic cards that we're playing across the board. You know, something like Valor, Nib. It's mostly primarily the hand traps, and then like Tristan said, in the mirror matches, absolutely, like it's godly in a mirror match because you can hit anything. Yeah, no. So like, and I think to go back to what Danny said a little bit about like, you know, feeling embarrassed, right? I think like there's been times, you know, I've tried out certain things that don't always go expected to plan, but then sometimes what ends up happening is like later down the road I start seeing that idea come up with like pro players when they start playing, and you're like, see, I was right. Sometimes it has to do with timing, or sometimes it just has to do with like perfecting the idea. Like an example of this was I'm trying to think of I think the example Geki was
Geki.
Yeah,
that was actually gas.
And you guys made me so mad. You guys made me feel so dumb.
Well, even like outside of, I remember it was Hani. Hani was playing something a while ago, and I remember, and I was doing something similar at first, and then I thought to myself, because it just wasn't working out for me, and I'm like, no, this is horrible. Like, why would I do this, right? It's just not good. I think a lot of times, even when Dragon Link, this came up with like 3 or 2 Tracer, or like just some random ratios that you just try to throw in to see if it'll work or not. And sometimes, again, and I think what I noticed from when I would watch pro players is that they would take back that information and just retweak it, but keep to the same strategy, even if it didn't work once. For example, actually, I know you guys didn't touch base on this, right? But for example, I think at one of your guys' tournaments, Patrick Hoban and his guys were playing Despia, were they not? Despia
Yeah.
Shadal or something?
Yeah.
I think,
Oh,
yeah.
God.
Yeah, so like it's an interesting idea, and even though they did bad with it, what I'm more interested in hearing is why. Why did you play a deck like that, right? Because actually, what'll come up later, and I think Landon, I was like, Landon, go ask him why they played it, because it's not so much whether at that tournament if it does good or not. I mean that matters, right?
Right.
But it's more so like the concept. Actually,
Yep.
that's perfect. That's like 100% relevant to what I'm saying right now. Is that like people miss things, like just because something doesn't work once, that's okay. It just needs to be refined, retooled, and then boom, you go back at it again, right? But if the general concept and theory is there and it makes sense, then give it a try and see what happens, right? Because like Hoban guys definitely chose that deck for a reason, and it probably is because Winda is just a broken card. We've seen that like across the board. Like we're seeing so much invoked right now, top. But yeah, no, that's like actually a prime example, like Despia and things like that.
Yeah, so going on with the tournament, our first couple rounds are kind of crazy. We played against the Blessings team round one.
So we played against the Blessed, Frank Nicola, and Chris James. And bro,
that was the
okay. You know what? I'm not even gonna mention it, but it was funny. I will say it was hilarious. Me and DeBlessin, we're boys, so we were just having a good time at the end. And then you just have DeBlessin and Frank apologizing before the match even begins to Landon about Chris, because Chris wouldn't shut up and was just talking shit the entire time. And then
You know what
Chris
happened?
James-
This man was playing Altergeist and didn't use a single multi-figure effect.
Yeah, bro.
Tristan thought he was
Thought he was
playing.
playing Invoked.
Yeah, I was dead. He was like,
Just
"This dude really thinks I'm playing Invoked." Like showing his hand to his teammates, like triple to bureau, double ash.
Is this Chris LeBlanc?
Oh,
Is that
this is
No,
Chris
Chris James.
And so I
Oh.
lost. I lost my match because I did full combo. I got Dark Rulered. And then game 2, I looked at Danny in defeat because I bricked so bad. And then, so I lose. Landon wins because, his opponent, Frio. And then Danny plays Frank. I will say we won. Okay.
Long story short, he was getting mad because I apparently pulled out a card out of my deck before I even sat my deck down. I was like, "Oh, you already revealed that card to me. You have to add it." And I was like, "Cool." And then I resolved
but
Fairy
the worst part...
the best part.
No, wait. No, the worst part was...
Man, Ash is in a Dear Servant. He says okay. He sends it to Graveyard. And then the guy next to him, he's like, "Yo, you have Gamma. Play that." And he's like, "Oh, shit. Activate Gamma?"
Yeah.
Did you guys let him?
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good
we let him.
Yeah. Never saw that moment. I was
bro,
like,
we're
nah,
not
we're
scum.
done.
We're not scum.
Yeah, but it's past the window.
Yeah, no way, man. He put that in grave.
Yeah, no. I would not let that happen.
Anyway, so I added Fractal. He was like, "No, you already added." I didn't have my
But
deck
the
down.
worst part he said was
And
that,
that too.
I think you win anyway, but you have to add that because that's what you showed me. And I was like, if you know he's gonna win anyway, then what's the point?
Because the purpose of saying that is because he's trying to fool you, basically trying to say like whether it's true or not, but he's also trying to get his
Darren,
way.
he had no cards, Darren. He had none. No cards in hand, no cards on the field. He had nothing. That's why it was like ridiculous for me. Like, I don't know. So for me, I don't mind letting my opponent take back if it doesn't change the game state.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, or stuff like that. But like for me there, like if I know I'm gonna lose anyway, no matter what, really, then what's the big deal?
The best part is I resolved Fergie and I drew Imperial Order.
Yeah, and then Landon, and it's so fucked up because Landon just says, "Oh, it looks like we're winning anyway," or some shit.
No,
and
that's what I said. All I said, I was like, "Oh, that's game, and I just said it. I was like, "Battle phase. Oh, this is game 2." Like, you just had to add a little bit of salt to the wound,
Yeah, exactly.
Like if someone's gonna hit you,
Were they chilled after the GG? Like,
I mean, me and DeBlessin were cracking up the whole time anyway, so I think we were fine.
I'm always chill with the blessing. I met the blessing. I think it was
Was he playing
Salad
salad?
players.
I think it was Pasadena, and we were both playing salad, and we were like talking a lot and chilling.
Was he playing salad again?
Yeah.
Got to
Yeah.
rep. He's got to make
Yeah.
YouTube content, man. Can you imagine the YouTube video popping off once he chops with that deck? He's got to have the second mindset of
Exactly.
the YouTube content goes next.
Exactly.
Did he do well with it? Did he top?
No, their team did not top.
No, the team went like 2-2 drop or something.
Well,
Yeah.
Understandable. They
I mean,
didn't understand the assignment.
It was a 6-round tournament, and you literally had to go X1 to top 8.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
tough.
so round 2, we play against Manny's team. You know, they're really nice people.
Yeah.
And bro, I'm gonna tell you right now, I got the most ridiculous OTK happen to me, and I just looked at Danny, and Danny was like, I guess, and it's super embarrassing because I already lost round 1, so I feel like I'm like the weakest link at this point because this is what happens to me. I full combo him, right? My opponent, then after I full combo him, he just goes, stand by main. I'm like, yeah. Kaiju's my Apex Avian. I said, that's fine. Activates Mystic Mind. And then he's like,
Oh my god.
and then he's like, interrupted Kaiju Slumber. And I said, that's fine. And my Draco has to stay, right? Because it can't be destroyed by card effects. Like, it's a continuous effect. And then, bro, he summons Jizakiri to his side. He attacks in a Gamma Seal, and he says, damage step, limited removal, honest.
fuck.
And I just, yeah. And I looked at Danny, and I said, Danny, I am so sorry.
I don't know what to say, man.
I don't know what to say. I told Danny,
How did he have all that?
that was his 6 cards. I just told you his 6
It's
cards.
up his sleeves, bro. It's up his
That was
sleeves.
Manny's team was the one that had the dad and the kid, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they
And
were
so,
they were super nice.
yeah. No, and it was so funny because as he's sitting down, he's like, oh my god, I have to play against Tristan Bridges. No, I have to play against Tristan Bridges.
Yeah, dude, he was hyping
This
you up.
guy. Yeah, he was like, you can Google this guy, he will pop up.
Yeah,
Someone
I
was
was
like,
dying.
Me too.
Yeah, I was like, and he's like, oh, thank you so much. He was a really nice guy. I wasn't mean to him or anything. He was cool. So game 2, I brick, bro, and I look at Danny and I'm like, guys, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, I can't believe this is happening. So I pass, and bro, he draws and passes, and then I draw and pass, right? Because I'm still bricking, and then he
This is
passed
one of
back
the
to
games
him.
I saw, yeah.
Yeah, and bro, that happened for like,
It was
I don't know.
literally like 10 turns.
yeah, it was like 10 turns. And because I hit the realization that that's all his deck did in my head. I finally put it all together. I was like, that's all his deck does.
Just
I was like, it's the gimmick. I was like, that's his whole deck. So all I had to do was hold my cards until I had like double Lightning Storm and like all my Tri Brigades and like birds, and then I kill him.
And
Right? And that's what I did. Game 3, he said I could start, and I just passed, and I just drew all my cards until I could do it again, and then I killed him. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, we figured out the assignment.
fucking TikTok shit.
Download complete.
Real hot girl shit.
That's badass, bro.
You know how Tristan gets.
You know how I get. You know how I get, G.
Why is it that all just like old people who play Yu-Gi-Oh can just get away with playing Mystic Mine? I don't understand it.
So
There's
yeah,
that-
okay.
There's
And
that
that-
Jeff Leonard guy too. Everybody loves him, and I'm like, dude, F this guy.
Yeah, and then Landon
I don't
Shark,
care
like
if you're a lovable old guy. You just play Mystic Mindbird. Go
in that
away.
round, Landon Shark like this 11-year-old kid. It was crazy. Landon, tell him.
Based.
Well, I got sharked. I got sharked when I was that age. You have to learn.
Landon Shark, an 11-year-old kid, bro.
That's right, baby.
He sharked an 11-year-old kid. I kid you not. And I was like, bro, are you serious right now? Like,
What was the ruling? What
When
was
it's
the
a
ruling?
win, dog.
I don't even remember.
oh my god. Okay, bro. Like, what was it? Your opponent like put the card in his hand or something instead of the deck.
It wasn't that. No, it wasn't a rule strike. It was not a rule strike. Landon goes Rashuda effect, target your set. The guy shuffles it into his deck, and Landon's like, "What are you doing?" And you can't tell what card it is now, so that's just That's just a repairable game state.
I would have never gone down that way, Danny. I would have never let that go down
joking?
that way against a little kid. Never
you
against.
joking?
What are you supposed to do?
What are you supposed to do? He's just gonna cheat and add a random card to his hand.
I would
Oh,
let
it was
Danny.
actually the head of Exodia that you shuffled back.
Danny,
Oh no! I have all
Exodia.
5 pieces now.
Danny, I would have let him.
Yeah.
Wait, so what was it?
You would have let a Thunderies player just add evenly matched?
Yep, I would have.
Like what? Oh God,
Yep.
no!
Landon should have gave himself a handicap. He knew he was gonna win that duel.
No.
Dude, Landon was just sitting there like, "Hey Tristan, do I hit this card? He has this and this," and I'm just like, "No." And then he's like, "Do I hit this?"
That
Yes,
little kid could be a prodigy. You never know.
dude.
I was
You
in that
gotta,
guy's.
you gotta respect every player you play against.
Nope. I
You
would
gotta
have.
be
I
consistent.
would have let him. Dude, you guys don't get sarcasm, bro. Like, you guys don't get sarcasm.
This
Like,
was just asked all the
obviously.
time.
Good at it.
Like,
Of course not. You didn't put on a fucking face cam.
Yeah, I can't. I can't do that. I can't do that for y'all
Why? Because you're eating pizza.
because I don't know how y'all get anymore. You know,
Snacking.
y'all be fake
Yeah.
AF to me lately.
Bro, I don't give a fuck. I'll eat this whole ass fucking apple
Y'all be,
pie right
y'all
now.
be fake AF to me lately.
So funny.
I don't give a
So-
fuck.
Where did that apple pie even come from?
So yeah. So
Fake love.
what's next on the list right now?
You?
What else we're talk about?
Next on the list is Darren.
Board breakers versus hand traps.
Oh,
Okay.
Oh shit.
Cool. Yeah, no, it's I mean, I guess I can lead this off. Yeah, so right now we're seeing a change, like I said, there's this weird little conundrum that we're in where we have like a mix of board breakers that people are playing, or if people are playing hand traps. And hand traps don't feel like enough, and board breakers feel like enough, but they get negated with unstoppable boards. So I guess the question is, I guess we can go around here too and just ask, what's the answer? Do people do hand traps or do they do board breakers?
I vote to go last.
Okay, I'll go first. So
Sure.
you don't want to be playing board breakers right now because the most played deck or the most popular deck is Bird Up. In their engine, they have a way to out any board break,
Which is what?
which is Tri Brigade Oath. So why would you be playing board breakers when
So
the
how
deck
do
is trying to
you-
board break?
How do you set up both? Explain it.
So you kit dump it,
Uh-huh.
and you summon double Dragon Lords with Caress.
Okay.
No, here. The easiest way to say it in the combo is you summon like Nerval, right? If you like add it, you can banish 4, go into Omen turn 1, you go into Fergie, then you search Kit. You use Kit effect to to search Kit. You use Bearable effect to special Kit, special double Dragon's Lords.
Mhm.
And then those are your 3, and then you can also go into like Ombrage at that point too, because you go into like some Morg Link and you have like the extra zone. So it really,
Yeah.
it like there's so many ways to easily search it, especially when you're playing like Omen, because you can just like go into like the part that you need to.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly. So, that deck has a built-in way of
Yeah.
getting rid of the board breakers, right?
Yeah.
So
In the other decks, the PK deck, they're gonna scythe you. So it's
Mhm.
already too late by the time you're able to do the board breaker card.
exactly, we're seeing
And on so much
yeah,
follow-up.
And
exactly.
they can
And we're-
even play around Chalice too because of the way they can scythe you twice. That
Yes.
happened to me.
With PKXC to pop the link and bring it back.
Yep.
People are
And
just
then
citing
against
the
Smartphone,
Cosmic, right? For that. So you just banish the.
yeah,
however, the issue with that is that
Yeah,
like,
Cosmic is
it's
nice.
still just cosmic. So like it's like not enough, I feel.
it's not.
Yeah,
It
it's
definitely.
weird.
It's fine if it's a
You're deciding
simplified
cosmic against deck
against
combo.
PK. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's where it's not. It doesn't feel good, right? And it's true. I think right now with how the meta is, and I think this was going to be our next topic, anyways. But we saw the LCS this past weekend, and it just I don't even know what to say about that. It was like a 300-person LCS. we just saw God knows what top. I mean, Bird Up deck won, which is nice.
Orchist, best deck.
Yeah, you saw like second place was an urgent scheduling, going second dashed first. I heard the disciples talk about it a little bit, and they were talking about
The way described it was very funny, yeah.
Yeah, they're like, we don't know what this deck was supposed to do, whether it's supposed to go first or second or what. Like
They're
it
like
just
describing the deck list, and it's like, okay, so on the left you have starters, in the middle
Yeah.
you have board breakers, and then this whole right half is just
are
bricks.
just bricks. Yeah, exactly.
I thought that was so funny because it's
I
like,
did
oh my
too.
god, they're right.
It was hilarious. There was like 12 bricks or something like that. It was just
Yeah.
like, wait, what? And then even urgent scheduling. I think one of the guys opted to go first, and then he got gammaed, and then he just urgent scheduled. And it was like, what? Like, it's just, I don't know. It was a really weird tournament. And you had, I mean, I think what to take out of that is, what's that? Small World, is it called? That card jumped up in price.
Yeah, Small World's very good.
Cards
Very
Yeah.
interesting card.
That shit was like $5, wasn't it?
That card is
They were 15.
confusing.
No,
I had to get Danny. Yeah, I had to get Danny to read that card to me like 5-6 times
Yeah.
because
It's worded very weird.
A
I
fun
still
fact about
don't know.
a
Yeah.
fun fact about the card is that there's literally, if you literally type in Small World on Google, there's a website where you can put in your deck list and see what cards you can search and all the interactions. And I've been using that a lot on stream to kind of see like what pinpoints I can play. Like there's literally times where you can like search Token Collector, you can search Cycle Reader, you can just play those one-of cards for like matchup specific. So like Small World also becomes like a great way to utilize your side deck too, similar to how like CROSSOUT is with like playing like Dark Ruler, Mystic Mine, Lightning Storm, like cards like that. And I think that card's gonna see a lot more play, especially in the upcoming formats.
Absolutely.
It's also really important to note it that it's not a
Cost.
card where like it's not a cost. So like if you get ashed, it's just like it's fine. And if it doesn't get ashed, like you're searching for the power card in your deck.
It's literally sign-up mining for any monster in your deck.
Exactly.
Just think about it that way.
Yeah, I think so the thing that I think about that card is it's good in like particular decks. One being the Bird Up deck, obviously, because you don't want to play Prosperity to get rid of, certain cards, your extra deck cards. And, and I think in general, like, I think you can't play Desires because you're playing Oath in the Tri Brigade Bird Up deck. So that deck really utilizes the Small World card really, really well. That deck actually, that's one of the decks that can play it. And then the second deck that I would say that could play it the best is Invoked, because I think the fact that where you can turn, normal monster, like your not combo, but your starters, I guess, into hand traps, or your hand traps into starters, like it opens up like new possibilities for what that card can do. So Invoked and I think Bird Up deck, those two in particular. I know people were trying it in more stuff like Sword Soul. Does not work well in Sword Soul. I would not play that card over Pot of Desires or something like that. In a deck like Sword Soul, you need every card in your hand. You cannot take the -1. So you need the +1. The deck reminds me a lot like a Virtual World where you need every card possible in your hand. So I 100% would not be playing Small World in Sword Soul. I could be wrong.
I wonder what would happen if you put Virtual World and Sword Soul together.
Oh my god, Danny knows that. Danny and Tristan know that.
Oh no.
That'll be my experiment this upcoming
I'm
locals,
out.
everyone.
Hey, it was a good podcast, guys.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Just play the
Yeah,
Mega Fantasy
Rozo.
engine. That engine's just way better.
So yeah, I think Small World's kind of like an interesting, and then everything else at top, like machine decks or other decks or wwhatever, like no, like I think they did good, and I think they like I don't know. I think the thing is, I think the reason they did good is because they're like heavy push decks, and we're in a really fair format. Like there's not like these huge boards that are being made that are impossible to out. Like even the Bird Up deck. Like if we're saying the Bird Up deck is like impossible, it actually, like Tristan told you like so many stories of when his board got broken. just in his tournament reports. So yeah, I think we're in an interesting format. It's fair. It's a fair format. Like before, we don't have, LP anymore for Dragon Link. We don't have like these unfair, insane boards that are being like Herald of Perfection 6 negates, right? Like it's nothing like that. We don't have like these so-called FTK decks. It's a very fair format, is what I would say. So yeah.
With the rise of hand traps, do you guys see talents being played more? I haven't seen it played really at all since.
That's like that's like the next level thing, right? Like
yeah,
and that's where we're
it's very good.
exactly. And
Also,
this
just
is
don't think it's good because cards like DPE remove themselves off the field and stuff like that, so it's not really as good as it was like taking a Dragoon and killing your opponent.
exactly. And I think just in general, though, like we're going again, and to refer back to the Disciples podcast, where I think Gabriel that said it best. We're in this kind of like weird circular motion, like where it's gonna keep going around. It's gonna be hand traps, board breakers, hand traps, board breaker, and just gonna be a constant cycle of what people choose, right? So it's 100%. This format is far from defined. This format is far from figured out. I don't, even when people say like it's like Bird Up his best deck or whatever his best deck, it's too hard to say right now. It's too early.
I agree.
And I don't like DPE as I like the card. I don't like the bricks. I think I said that before as well.
I like the bricks when I get to activate their effects.
They're better. They're way better than fucking Dragoon, to be honest.
They are, but I don't know if we're still.
My anti-spell got popped by a celestial effect, bro. I bet you didn't even know he had that effect.
I did, and you burned too, apparently.
Yeah. Broken.
I thought he only popped spells.
Alright, bro. Don't tell me I got cheated, bro.
I'm pretty sure you did.
You got hella cheated. He only popped spell cards. I can definitely confirm.
It's confirmed.
He only,
Okay, well, if your
only destroys
opponent
face-up
has
spell cards
a
on attack.
multi-roll.
He's very bad.
Yeah, like
Never mind, that card is not as good as I thought it was.
he's only good for the draw too. That's it.
In ABC
exactly.
format, I used this card to pop a Union Hanger. That was
yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's only like very like few times I've ever actually popped anything with the Celestial.
Yeah.
Damn, learn to read cards.
Get your talents now. Get your talents now. Don't need to read, bro. Because I still won that game. He's normal summoning a celestial, bro.
Yeah, that's true.
I think what we have to do in the format that we're in right now is kind of weird, but I think in the past formats we've been so accustomed to playing like 3 of cards, like even our hand traps, because we always say we want to see them. But I think we're in a format right now where I don't think it's viable to play like max out on cards, because we're in too much of a wide range format that like you can't just, and I think there has to be a middle ground to it. I think you have to have a middle ground of maybe hand traps and board breakers. I don't know if it's necessarily one or the other, but or like cards again, like back last format when I was saying it too, cards that fulfill multiple roles and purposes. One of the cards I already know it's out there, so I'm just going to talk about it, is D-Barrier. D-Barrier is a card that's been seeing like a lot of play anyways, but that's because that's because it hits so many decks going for, like, people play Judgment and Anti-Spell and things like that, but the reason why you don't want to play those cards is like if you get Cosmic Twinned or Evenly Matched, right, you want a card that you can just respond and flip it, whereas like if someone someone Twin Twisters, let's say your Judgment, you're not gonna, if the Judgment is the only card, you're not gonna like Solemn Judgment it, right? So basically your Judgment just goes down the drain, let's say. And even if they target 2 cards, unless that other card that you have is really, really important, you're not gonna waste half your life points. It's a resource. It's a really big resource that you're losing. Whereas Dimensional Barrier is super interesting right now. Same with Artifact Scythe and obviously the whole Artifact package, because DPE is a card. So I think it really is a battle between D-Barrier right now and Scythe. Obviously, Scythe doing a lot more and being able to stop Link summons. But D-Barrier is pretty flexible in that it stops Xyz for the bird deck, stops Fusion for the invoked Shaddoll decks.
Or PK.
Xyz for PK, yeah, exactly. And then it stops Synchros for Sword Soul. So
Ritual versus Drytron, baby.
yeah,
Ritual,
you're
yeah.
right, actually. Yeah, surprisingly
I do cite that, and I actually it does come up like almost all the time.
Yeah, and the nice thing about it is, like, if people hit it with anything, like, who cares? Like, if someone goes Vishuda, yeah, like, if someone goes Vishuda and then Vishuda target the back row, like, you don't have, like, Judgment doesn't do anything to that. Anti-spell, they can just out it anyways. This is something that you're chaining to stun the turn. So, this card is very, very good, and I would definitely recommend picking them up just because of how versatile it is. But like I said, if your deck can play the Scythe package, I mean, why not? Like, Scythe is probably better. The only difference is that, you know, Chalice and Droplet are seeing a lot more play too. So, D-Barrier doesn't get.
I can't wait for the forbidden droplets to be reprinted.
Yeah, exactly. True. Yeah.
Something else, two things that I actually really love about D-Barrier is that you can kind of grind with it better than Sanctum. Like Sanctum, you do it once and it skips a turn, but if you don't capitalize on that, the other ones are dead, and that feels bad.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing about Barrier that I really like is that you can chain it to a card and then just make them use a card rather than Scythe just being in standby phase and locking them out, and then they can set some and pass and maybe live.
Totally. Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I think it's way better that you can just chain to it instead of having to shotgun it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Agree. Exactly. The fact that, you know, that's what I'm saying. Even if they have like an early Vishuda, and then they're able to, like, the Tennies add a whole different variant to the Sword Soul deck where you can do your Tenny package first, you know, clear boards, clear hand traps, and then go into your Sword Soul combo. So having something like D-Barrier just makes it so that you don't, even if they do something like that where they can clear your board, at least you're able to stun them for a turn. Cards that stun right now are the best way to go, I would say. So, yeah.
Best way to play the game is for your opponent to not.
Exactly.
All right, guys.
Exactly. It's always been the name of the game. Yeah.
Got the Dark Law fanboy over here.
Yo, whoa. I don't know what you're talking about. Yo, you know what? I love it when people are like, yo, I'll Droplet. I was like,
I was about to ask.
Bro, like, hold on.
Yeah, what cards would you like to use?
Yeah, can you send to graveyard for cost real quick? Oh, sorry, I have a Dark Law. Okay, cool. Go ahead and continue your turn. Idiot.
Okay. Does it have to send to the graveyard?
Yeah, it's send to grave for cost.
Yep.
So you can't. If I have a Dark Law, you just can't drop my board.
It's like the best part about Dark Law is he just doesn't lose to that card.
Yeah, it's great.
Can you if I have D-Fisher, can you even activate it or no?
Yes.
Just D-Fisher.
Yes.
Okay, it has to be macro. Got it.
Because you could just be sending spells and traps with D-Fisher out.
Or D-Shifter.
Yeah, you use D-Shifter.
I picked up that one macro pendulum. What is it called?
Messiah.
Yeah. I picked one of them up.
D-Shifter is definitely seeing a lot of play. Yeah, D-Shifter is, I mean, I don't know if anyone's tried it, but the pure Sword Soul deck, the OCG type with the D-Shifter, that card is insane D-Shifter, so absolutely.
That's Baylor my Mogi, baby.
You just gotta just play that D-Barrier against Sword Soul and you're okay, you know.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh man. Especially like if they have to like Long John first and then they're like, yeah, and then you're like, okay, well now I'm just gonna D-Barrier. Now you just ditched a card and then now you have that guy out with a token.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, do you finish your deck? Do you put it together yet? The Sword Soul?
Oh no, I've had it together, but this last weekend I played I played Heroes.
You never play it, fool.
Well, yeah, it's because I wanted to play Heroes yesterday, and that's and I just went 4-0, and I was like, yeah, easy claps.
Let me.
That's the thing. Anything can top right now. You know, anything and everything could. Like we saw Pendulum do so well too at the LCS, and that's because it has a high ceiling, right? Like anything that has a lot of. Again, decks right now are really fair. Sword Soul is fair. Bird Up, it's on the verge of being broken, but there's still ways to make it fair. I think the thing that doesn't make the deck fair is that it plays through a lot of hand traps inherently. There's no specific like hand trap that just beats it because like they can go into the Utopic Draco to play around Nibiru. They can like have the Cobalt to play through an Effect Veiler Imperm. Like there's always ways for that to play around hand traps, which is why it's not good. But now they also have an inherent way to play around board breakers too. So yeah, we're in a bit of a weird state. Bird Up is definitely an interesting deck, but yeah.
Which birds? The Flunderies?
No one cares about Flunderies.
No, no Flunder, no, the Bird Up deck, the Lyralisk Tri Brigade.
Yeah.
Yeah, that deck is insane, but yeah, I think we touched on basically every subject, I think, right?
Yeah. I think it's about time, guys. Before we go today, thank you everybody for listening to Genesis Podcast episode 3. We will see you next time. We do have some shout outs to do. Danny, would you like to take it away?
Yeah. So first and foremost, shout out to Genesis. You already know. Thank you guys for everything. I really appreciate you guys. Shout out to Javi and Tian, co-owners. You already know. Shout out to Imperium Duelist, one of our sponsors. Shout out to Team Dank Deals, our new partner. You guys will be seeing a lot more from us. And shout out to our other partner, Celestial Gaming. I hope you guys really enjoyed this podcast. It was a lot of tension, but it was a lot of fun.
Sorry, just had to show
right,
the
guys.
deck box from Imperium.
I like that deck box full badass.
Hell yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for coming, and we will see you next time. Don't forget about the spicy strawberries.